All right, let's talk about the Solomons deal. Anthony Albanese said that he would have sent Penny Wong. Do you really think sending Penny Wong would have changed the outcome?
I think showing that this national security threat on our doorstep is something that Australia takes very seriously is something the government should have done. Julie Bishop has said that the current Foreign Minister should have gone to the Solomon Islands. And I certainly think it's extraordinary that, having been warned, as long ago as August last year, that this threat was emerging on our doorstep, the fact that government's done nothing, not sent any representation at that senior level, is a serious problem. Of course, this is a problem that is not just months in the making, it's a problem that's years in the making. When the government cut aid to the Pacific and cut aid to the Solomon Islands, we said at the time, Labor said at the time, if you cut aid funding that supports hospitals and schools and builds roads and infrastructure and supports democracy in our backyard across the Pacific, then we will leave a vacuum that others will seek to fill. That is absolutely what has happened here. Scott Morrison was warned, the Liberals were warned at the time. We also said, if we ignore our Pacific Island neighbours when they are telling us that climate change is an existential threat, they identify it as the most serious threat facing them. If we've got government ministers like Peter Dutton and Scott Morrison sitting around laughing at this existential threat, then that is a problem for our relationship.
But
this
isn't the
issue
problem
with the
that
Solomon
China
Islands
is a much bigger emitter, much bigger polluter than Australia? So the Solomon Islands is getting their wires crossed somewhere.
And I think, Laura, we don't measure ourselves against China for what we want to do in the world, the kind of power
No, but the
that we
Solomons
want to be
is
in the
obviously
world.
measuring us against China.
Yes, because we left a vacuum. And this is... look, I'm not excusing China's behaviour here. China has become more assertive and more aggressive. We've seen what's happening in the South China Sea with the militarisation of islands and atolls and, bits of rock in the South China Sea. We don't want that on our doorstep. We've now got a Chinese presence. Soon we expect a military presence about 1,600 kilometres off the coast of Australia. That's about as far, I think, as Sydney to Townsville, say. It's not far. And of course, China has changed. That means that our response, our national security response, has to adapt as well. Labor warned the government when they cut aid to the Pacific that we would reduce our influence, that others would seek to fill that vacuum. That has come to pass. This is not something that we can fix overnight because it's months and years in the making. So it will take time for us to restore those relationships. But I think someone of the calibre of Penny Wong as Foreign Minister is exactly the person to do that.
Let me finally ask you about comments made at the People's Forum last night. Scott Morrison basically said he and Jenny felt blessed that they hadn't had a disabled child because of the challenges that brings with it. Was that a fair comment, or did it miss the mark?
Look, I think it was a very hurtful comment, and I understand why a lot of families who have been blessed with children who are different in some way would feel that it's hurtful. And I think it would be a good idea for the Prime Minister just to take responsibility and apologise for the comments.
Tanya Plibersek, we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.